Quebec, Canada, fighting Troy the Destroyer Dorsey, 12 rounds for the World Super Lightweight Championship.
What are you going to do now as far as kickboxing?
First, I want to thank God. Say hello to my wife, Shelly and Kendra. Happy birthday, Shane. And thank all of my instructors and students at my school. Now, pick up kickboxing and boxing both again and go out there world time. Okay, thank you.
The winner and still Hurricane World Super Lightweight Champion of the world, Troy the Destroyer Dorsey!
What's up, you guys? My name is Bryce George. I'm the host of If the Gloves Could Talk, and as always, I'm here with Mr. Troy Dorsey. Troy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's a little cold out there, but I'm doing great.
I have not been out there since this morning, so I'm a little
Still
scared
cold.
to see how cold it's gotten. I feel like it's gotten colder today.
Yes. I'm not sure if the temperature's dropped since this morning, but I know that it's just that time of the year is cold weather.
Yeah, so for those of you that may not know, we're located right in the heart of downtown Mansfield, and our production studio is home to what used to be Troy's karate studio, which
Yes.
you were here for how many years?
From 1999 to 2022.
Yeah,
So 23 years.
yeah, so
Quarter of a century.
Yeah, very long time, and so downtown Mansfield, we're about 30 minutes south of Dallas, Fort Worth here in Texas. But for those of you that are Texans or not, it is true the weather out here is quite crazy. It just fluctuates from day to day. So trying to keep up with it, trying to roll with the punches.
Yes.
But Troy, are you excited for today's content that we're going to talk about?
Oh, yes, ma'am. I'm always look like kind of reliving the past is what it is.
Yeah, and
Those
that's what we do a lot on this
Yeah.
show, and I think that's why we came up with the name If the Gloves Could Talk, because, you know, imagine all the stories that those gloves of yours could tell.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so that's what we're trying to do here with that. But first segment we'll be doing after this is a blast from the past. And in that segment, we replay an older interview that we did with Troy. This one today will be from July 26, 2022. And I won't be in this interview, actually. It's going to be with Rick Larkin. And Troy, how long have you known Rick for?
Really known him, I guess, maybe. We had talked before because his son trained here.
Okay.
But that has been maybe 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what caught his attention to buy the building, because he knew what this building looked like, and I'm sure he could see what he could do with it. But when he purchased the building, then that's when we started working together. Last month in March, started doing these podcasts, and yeah, he's a great guy, and doing a great job with this building here. Looks nice. Looks very nice.
Yeah, so the son that Troy's talking about, Bailey's now, I believe, 24. So like lots of Troy students, which you'll see in this interview that we're about to play between Rick and Troy, is, you know, lots of your students have grown up now, and not all the students are, you know, kids. You have, I believe your oldest student was 91.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. He trained from the time he was 58 years old till he's 91. His name was Virgil Shielko. Unbelievable little Filipino man. He was just unbelievable. His dedication to training and working out. I gave him a key, and he started coming every day. And when I gave him the key because I asked him to open up the school, or if I wasn't there, if he could open it up at noon when the class, for the day class that started at 12:30. I'd always get there by 12:30, but then I couldn't get there at noon because of traffic on I-30 between here and East Dallas. He took that upon himself to take the key, and he said he went in every day, swept the mat, mopped the mat, cleaned the mirrors, cleaned the toilets, put toilet paper up, restock the toilet paper, restock the paper towels. This guy was unbelievable.
He sounds like probably the perfect student, I would imagine.
Yeah, he really is. He really was, all the way. He would teach for me. He would, like I said, all the cleaning. He just started doing it every day, and I said, I was surprised when I came in and the whole place was already done. And he said, well, you've done so much for me. So I don't want to make that sound like I'm bragging. That's what he said. And I will forever remember him being a big, huge part of my life. From 84 or 85 when he started till about 5 years ago when he passed away, 2018.
He sounds like a wonderful soul, and I'm glad that we get to talk about him on this show.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, maybe his grandkids or his kids or great grandkids, maybe we'll see it. They'll see it.
I hope so.
Yes.
But I'm excited for today's content. It's going to be fun to watch and relive a little bit. So we're going to head straight into our next segment, A Blast from the Past. And when we get back, we'll talk a little more and digest what we just watched.
And today we have a special guest. You know, normally we have guests on that are jumping in and they're doing transportation, they're doing law, they're DOT, whatever that is. Today, we may have our most unsafe guest ever in the history. It's none other than Troy Dorsey, Mansfield grown, a Mansfield product, the greatest fighter. We're going to find out here to see. I say yes, the greatest kickboxer. And pound for pound, the greatest fighter that I've seen. It's none other than Mr. Troy Dorsey. I'm going to bring Troy in here. All right, there we go. Hey, Troy, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing great, sir. How are you?
You know, I can't complain, Troy. I know you're born here in Mansfield. You grew up here. You started fighting here. Is that safe to say?
My first fight was in Fort Worth. I say fight. I'm talking about the.
We're not talking school fights.
Talking I was 11 years old. I actually started martial arts because I was getting bullied on at school. I just wouldn't fight back. So that's why I started martial arts, because I was getting bullied on.
And you know what? I guarantee you that didn't last long, Troy. You came out and you ended up being the first fighter ever to hold the title in kickboxing and in the welter. What was it?
Oh, featherweight.
Featherweight
And junior lightweight boxing world title also, yes.
And how many people have owned that title since?
Oh, since then, well, that title, as far as being able to do that, I don't know of anybody that has won the world title in point karate, in kickboxing, and also in boxing.
My gosh, Troy, some of those kicks you did were amazing. I mean, seriously, how do you ever catch? I just struggle to think you can really catch somebody off guard. But yet you do it all the time. Talk to me. What's the secret in catching them folks off guard on them round-offs, right?
Well, it may sound easy, but it's this way. We trained. My trainer would say, when they do this, you do this. When they do this, you do this. So in other words, when they jab, you side kick them in the body. So they jab, and then after I've already picked it up on it twice, they jab again, boom. Or when they jab or when they kick with the front leg, then you do the turn kick, or some people call it spinning kick. So that's what it was. That's what how my trainer trained me, is when they did X, you do Y.
You just got to hope that when they do X, they do X, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's a timing thing. It really is something you have to be really tuned in and be focused to be able to read what they're going to do, because what they've done, if they do it 3 or 4 times in a row, then you know they don't normally do it 5 or 6 times in a row. It's just that you have to, when you see that coming, you do X. When you see something else coming, you do something else. So It was, yeah, so often people think that fighting is not a thinking game, but you have to think a lot.
Until you get hit a few times, then it's hard to think, right?
Well, actually, it's thinking without thinking, because my trainer would train me to do, like I said, they do X, you do Y. And I never asked why, but I knew exactly why, because when they did whatever kick they were doing or whatever punch they were doing, then I knew this part of their body was open. That's why I would do the technique that he was coaching me with.
All right. Hey, Troy, we have a long time to get into some of these fights. I want to know a little bit about who Troy is, and I'm talking about Troy as a youngster right now. Was Troy as a youngster, were you going around and mowing people's yard, opening up doors for old ladies, changing tires, or do you have a little wild side on you, Troy?
Yeah, there was a little wild side for sure. Just my parents brought me and my brothers up, my brother Brian and my brother Rodney up to be to follow the Lord and to do what we should do, and always my parents were great parents, and I got off track a little doing drinking and not drinking one beer, but drinking a lot. And if anyone is watching this, a child or someone, anyone that's watching this, I would just say, that's not what I do now, but that's what I did then. I was doing it then, and it was ending up, it was costing me. It could have cost me my life, but the Lord had His hand on me, and I did receive a DWI. Not proud to say that. And someone watching this thinking, well, drinking and driving, shoot, Troy did it. Oh, I was so fortunate that I didn't kill somebody, kill my wife, which was my girlfriend at that time, and also or kill myself.
Yeah.
So I totally discourage drinking. Drinking and driving is no good. It's no good. It's not gonna. It has no good. And I've never heard because someone was drinking, they were able to do some great things.
Yeah.
Drinking will for sure on the road. Please don't drink and drive.
Yeah, there's just no point on that. Glad you bring that up, Troy. And we think about going years ago, back when when I was young and you weren't quite as young. It was, they didn't have things like Uber and Lyft and these kids, and it was never an excuse for us to do that. However, the education, the kids these days, let me tell you, they will find a way to either have a designated driver, use that Uber, use that Lyft to get home. The kids, I think, when it comes to that, they're just a little smarter than we were. We didn't have all those little avenues, right? We couldn't call home. We were just driving home. Shouldn't have done it. No. Never do that. It's not worth it. Use Uber today. Find another way to get home.
Yes, sir. I recommend that, no doubt. It's so easy. Just people think when you start drinking, you get your mind fogged.
Yep.
So I say have a plan. Have a plan. Okay, I'm going to call an Uber. I'm going to call taxi. I'm going to call my best friend or whoever. Call somebody. Do not drink and drive. It's the #1 killer of teenagers. Alcohol-related accidents. It's horrible. It's terrible.
Hey, Troy, so you've been in Mansfield. You've grown up pretty much in Mansfield your whole life. Why not Troy for mayor? Where's that at? Troy for mayor. Troy for mayor. Is that on the horizon? Did you ever have dreams of doing something like that as well?
No, sir. No, sir. I never had. I always wanted to be a fighter, and I say always. I wanted to be when I started martial arts. I wanted to be a black belt, of course. And then during my road to earning a black belt, I started kickboxing, and then I wanted to be a world champion kickboxer, and then I want to be a better kickboxer by improving my hands and so improving my skills as a boxer and being a kickboxer. So then I saw those guys, Don Curry making $300,000 for defending his world title, and Stevie Cruz was his sparring partner. And often I think people I was the guy that he beat up. But yeah, he beat me up, and I gave some beating up to him also. But anyways, it's nothing about that. It just helped me see, okay, I think I can do this too. So I'm going to say I'd become a world champion in boxing also.
So So did most great boxers, champion boxers, were they always at some point somebody's sparring partner, you think?
Probably so, yes, sir. Maybe not, but
Because what do you? So when you're back there, you're getting pounded. I mean, you're learning. Are you learning to move out of the way, or you have to just take the pounding?
Should be learning to get out of the way. Oftentimes I didn't do that. But yeah, I learned so many things from Stevie Cruz.
Was Stevie Cruz your weight division? Was he heavier, lighter?
He was my weight division.
Gotcha.
Yes, sir.
So when you spar, did you ever spar? As the one getting sparred, I guess. Were you ever one for somebody that was much bigger than you?
Oh yes, sir. Oftentimes they had to find somebody bigger than me. So that I think that helped me out a lot. To be able to fight somebody that's bigger, it's tougher. It's harder. They punch harder. They hit harder, and it's just a big difference. That's why in boxing the weight is like 4 pounds difference. So featherweight I fought 126 pounds, and then the next fight weight up was 130, and that's when I won the world title in that division there. But anyways, yeah, only 4 pounds. So
wow,
weight is a big difference.
Gotcha. Hey, we're gonna go back again. We're gonna skip boxing for a second. We live and our studio is right here in Mansfield, Texas. Troy, I want you just to go back for a second, because if you're new to Mansfield, you don't see Mansfield the way that probably Troy saw Mansfield. You know, different. It's a much bigger city today. Troy, back when you were growing up, I mean, what was this city like?
Oh, it was so much smaller, so much.
Like,
less traffic.
Was it really that smaller?
Oh yes, sir. There was no red lights in downtown Mansfield.
And that hasn't been that long ago, really, when you think about it.
Stop signs, and there's so many streets that weren't even here. Cooper Main Street, go up, turns into Cooper, but it used to go to it was just a different direction, and not a different direction, but it was just so much smaller than
cows, horses everywhere. Was it really? I hear the stories about this was a cattle town or farmland. Was it really like that?
Yes, I remember driving on Debbie Lane to Webb to visit my grandparents, and I remember like it was yesterday that there was a bunch of cattle out in the road because they had gotten out, and you had to drive slow because you don't want to hit a cow. But yes, I remember driving to Webb to see my grandparents. They used to own a store there, a candy. It was a grocery store, a gas station, and yeah, it was cattle country.
Did you think about? And I think about downtown Mansfield, what it is today. A lot of changes going on there. I mean, there's a steakhouse coming in there now. They got the burger shops in there. They have all of these things going on. Troy, when you bought, the facility you're at.
BCB coming downtown.
BCB Live. Hey, we're going to be there, but probably in
Downtown.
September. We can't wait for that.
Yeah.
But before BCB Live, it was Troy Dorsey's Karate Studio.
Yes,
and
sir.
before that, when you bought it, it was a Western Auto.
It was. It had been a Western Auto for 42 years, and I bought it in '99, so that goes way back.
Yeah.
I guess from the
Do you remember
50s.
the day that you got those keys? I mean, do you remember when you actually got that Western Auto, that building, and you're like, oh my God, I'm in business, I'm sure, right? Now, is that excitement? Is that fear? A little bit of both?
I think a little bit of both, yes, sir. But overall, I remember just being thankful to the Lord that He brought me back from where I started. So I was in East Dallas making that drive from 81 to 99. So in 91, I bought the building. Actually, my wife and I, Leslie, thank God for her that she was able to help me buy the building and work with me and help me get the school going. And the rest of it is history.
So when you started that building, and any idea on how many kids you put through that school in total?
Oh, there were several thousand.
Yeah, and when you think about the impact you made on these kids of Mansfield, which, a lot of those kids today are like 24, 25, 28, 30. They're like
30,
adults now, 30, right?
Yeah. If they were 5 back then they were 22 years ago, they were.
Yeah.
Now here we are. They're
Do you
27.
see? So do you ever see any of those kids back when you taught them, and now they're adults?
Occasionally, I'll see them. Matter of fact, they are bringing their kids to me to teach karate now here in Mansfield. So yeah, we're on Lone Star Road now, So, yeah.
Give me a plug real quick. What's the address on Lone Star?
1848 Lone Star Road.
All right. And it's not Troy Dorsey boxing anymore, karate anymore. No. What is it now?
It's Troy Dorsey's Extreme Martial Arts.
Extreme. Troy has gotten older and he's gone extreme on us. Well, Troy, what's the difference between extreme and boxing?
Extreme in boxing or extreme in martial arts?
Extreme in martial arts. There you go.
Well, I have a new employee who's really working out good for me. His name is Caleb Ebel. He's working there with me now. He started in January, and we just took the martial arts, instead of doing things that weren't going to help us on the street, weren't going to help us in life. I started doing things that will help students for life. So of course, get in shape, learn how to punch, learn how to kick. Hopefully, if they need to defend themselves, they'll be able to defend themselves. So my goal has always been to make better students in and outside of our school. So learning about respect and control and discipline and the danger of drugs and alcohol, and what to do if they're in a dangerous situation with a stranger. It's horrible now, things that are going on. So trying to bring those things to point.
And your students today, and probably even back in the day, they're not just kids, right? They're moms and dads. They're adults. They're folks, my age, I guess.
Great grandfather. I got a 77. I think he's 72. 72-year-old guy that trains every week. He's right there in there doing it, punching and kicking. Some people think that they have to have some training before, they got to be prepped up. No. That's why we have what we call a basics or beginner class. You just start here, and then we work up here.
So I've been tempted to go down there, but I refuse to get in a sparring match with a 5 or 6 year old and lose. So that's my fear, Troy. I mean, what do you got for me on that?
Well, he would be at least. We wouldn't put you with a 4 or 5 year old. We'd put you at least with a teenager. Actually, we after you've been doing martial arts for a while, then you understand, okay, we're not in here to kill each other, to hurt each other, to beat each other up. We're just here to work together, to help each other grow, to help each other get better. And the sparring is not old school, beat each other up. My name is Troy Dorsey. We offer martial arts and karate training and fitness kickboxing training. Our karate program is for men, women, and children of all ages. From 4 and a half, we even have a student that's 91 years old. Also, we teach fitness kickboxing. It's a 1-hour non-contact class of punching and kicking a bag, because hitting a bag is like weightlifting to help strengthen and tone your muscles. Give us a call at 817-477-5523. Come in and see us today and start your martial arts experience with us now.
Welcome back after our A Blast from the Past segment. Troy, what is it like watching these past interviews that you did with us?
Oh, it's just really, I don't know, when talking about myself, I feel like I may be doing some bragging. I hope it doesn't sound like that to the audience, but it just gives me some able to reflect back on my life and think about these fights and what they did for me and what they did against me.
Right.
And all of the things it's been great looking back at my life story here.
And I know how it could feel like bragging, but what we're really doing here is creating, a documentary style podcast, and that takes talking a lot about your life, know, and it's not just that. We've said in the past, I think there's a lot that people can learn from you, so you've got to tell your story to where it could possibly connect with others. So that's what we're doing here. But I find it funny hearing about how downtown Mansfield especially was when you first started your business here. It's quite different compared to now, right?
Yeah, it's probably 25,000 cars go by here a day, probably. But then there was probably 5,000.
Yeah, a lot less. But when you were growing up in Mansfield, what was that? Was that even more different?
Well, it was 61 years ago when I was born. So yes, this building was built in 1890, so it was already here. but still a small city. Let's see, no Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
We had a Dairy Queen. And
Dairy Queen's still there.
Still on Bryce Street, yes. So no restaurants other than Dairy Queen. That was it.
Right.
That was it. So yeah, there's probably 40, 50 restaurants here in Mansfield now.
Yeah.
And there's lots of retail stores and shops, and there might even be 2 or 3 Walmarts. I don't know.
There's one super, I forgot what they call it, but there's one, mega Walmart here in Mansfield. And then we have a neighborhood one also, which I believe the neighborhood one only sells the food, like a regular grocery store. But we definitely have grown up a lot, the city of Mansfield. I do also want to mention, because it was talked about in your interview with Rick, is what was your famous move during your kickboxing?
The turn kick.
Yeah, so
The turn kick to the body.
was that a hard move to do? Not for you, of course.
Well, it took like anything else. You got to practice over and over again. I think I said this before, but I'll say it again, that I'm trying to think here. I'm fumbling around here, but it says practice is the father of excellence. Yeah, well, just practice.
It's very true.
But you gotta do your best.
Right.
You can't be sloppy at practice. You do good, hard practice, and it's the father of excellence. So I don't want to say I'm excellent, but I was able to score some knockouts with that kick, several knockouts, and get people's attention. And I mean, when you get kicked with a jump turn back kick in the body, and if it doesn't hit you, it kind of makes you can feel the power that they could have destroyed you with, or hurt you with, or knock you down with, or got some points with. But then setting that turn kick up, that turn side kick, then you go to the head, turn hook kick. That was another one. So the turn side kick set up the turn heel rake, the turn heel rake set up the side kick, the turn side kick, and I had some good coaches, Jim Choate, my first instructor, and Casey Malone, my boxing coach, and Cutter's coach, my boxing coach. All of these guys put out the best in me.
Mm-hmm. And when would you say this kind of became your signature move in your career?
Probably in the 90s, 90 to 98, I guess.
Right.
Until I retired.
Yeah.
Usually you get a little smarter as you go along, hopefully, but so that's why I started getting, I guess, to the later in the ending of my career, that I was had developed the skills to we call it lie to them. So when I turn, let's just say I turn this way and I kick you in the body. Turn, kick your body, boom, right? Do it again, boom, I turn and kick your body. This time I turn, I go to your head.
Yeah.
You're thinking this is.
There's a bit of surprise there.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, that's the idea of fighting. Let's just say I'm fighting a decent fighter, or a really, really good fighter, it doesn't really matter. If he knows what I'm going to throw, it's going to make it very difficult to beat him. It's going to make it very difficult to score. So you have to mix it up. You have to change it. So this saying, Ray McCallum came up with this. He said the only thing that changes, the only thing that stays the same is that you change. So if I hit you with the left hand, boom, then I hit you with the left hand, then I hit you with the left hand. Well, if I don't change. So you have these weapons. You got 2 fists, you have 2 feet, and you have your brain. So you got 5 weapons. So you have to mix it up, change it up. Otherwise, they'll know what you're going to do, and they'll be able to defend against that, or not even get hit by that technique. Yes.
Remember that could, save someone's life. Thinking like that, I think a lot of us, when we become startled or scared or don't know what to do, we kind of don't use our brain all the time, and use that to our advantage of just taking a second just to think about what's the next move,
Yeah.
So, yeah, great stuff, which moves us on to our next segment. And this will be our interview with Lester Bedford. So Lester is a longtime friend of Troy, known Troy competing. I'm gonna restate that and edit that out. And that actually moves us on to our next segment, which is our interview with Lester Bedford. He is a very well-known boxing promoter and most well-known for being a promoter for Jesse James Leha, which we've spoken about that fight with Troy before. And lots of fun things we get to dive into in this interview. Some things we never knew before, not even Troy knew, and you'll get to see that in this interview here shortly. But I'm going to say hold on to your gloves, everyone, and we'll be right back to talk more. All right, guys, we are so excited. We've got a great interview guest here with us today. Troy, how are you feeling for this interview we're about to do?
I'm feeling pretty pumped, I'm excited about it.
I am too. So I'm very excited to welcome our special guest, Mr. Lester Bedford. Lester, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Very happy to be here. And, you know, as soon as I got the email and said Troy Dorsey, I said, I'm in. Put me in there because Troy's one of my favorites all time in the boxing business. So happy to be here.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Lester.
Wonderful. And Lester, would you mind giving our guests a brief introduction of who you are?
Well, I've been in the boxing business for many, many years. I go back to 1981, where I was promoting boxing events in Fort Worth. And then eventually I started my own sports marketing management company. And for the last 35 years, I've been managing marketing major boxing events for the various major promoters in the United States, and including Golden Boy Promotions, Top Rank, and PBCs, many of the other ones. And anyway, so my job is to go in and manage and market major world championship boxing events, and been doing a long time, about 700 boxing events over the years, and about 200 world title fights, including lucky enough to work on some of Troy Dorsey's world championship fights. So, yeah, we've been friends for many years, and I've been fortunate to cross paths with him. And now I'm president of the Texas Boxing Hall of Fame, one of the things that I wanted to start. And Troy's one of our members of the Texas Boxing Hall of Fame, and so I'm very happy about that.
Wonderful, and that actually leads to my next question, Lester. Let's first start with how exactly, do you remember how and where you met Troy?
Well, I know exactly where I met him. First time I ever saw him in the boxing gym over at David Gorman's gym. I mean, it had to be the early in his career. And then one night I saw him box in a event was called Old Fashioned Club Fights. It was actually in their boxing gym. That's where Troy started. There might have been 200 people there at the fight. That's about all it held, but it was a fun thing. But all I know is that the star of the night and the one that everybody wanted to see and come back to see was Troy, because he's such a great action fighter and fun to watch. And he developed quite a fan base, and that's a long time ago. There's a long ways from that fight night and him fighting, national television on some of the big networks and for the world championship and becoming a world champion.
Yes, that fight was at the Gorman's Boxing Gym. Maximum, like you said, around 200 people. I don't remember too much about it, other than it was April 4th, 1985.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, because only you only fought there like once or twice, right?
Yes, sir.
In Gorman's gym? Well,
Yes,
I was there. I was there. Whatever night it was, I was there. David gave me a ticket. I came over and I watched, and I had a lot of fun. I wasn't involved in it, but I eventually was involved in a couple of your fights along the way. But anyway, yeah, you've come a long way, brother.
I know you have.
Well, the good Lord's been watching out for me. He get anything good that I did or was able to do was with the Lord Jesus Christ for sure. And my wife was always there with me, supporting me. So yeah, she's my number one.
Oh yeah, she's awesome.
Yes, and my parents, of course.
Kids are awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I met all of them, and a lot of great people.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So, Lester, what exactly did you think? So we know that you thought highly of Troy as a fighter, but what exactly how would you describe Troy's kickboxing career, and what was it like really getting to see him fight in person?
Well, I'm not really familiar with his kickboxing career. He's one of the few fighters in the history of boxing that was a former kickboxer and turned into a world boxing champion. That's a really hard thing to do because when you're used to the kicks and the punching and everything, typically they don't, it doesn't translate well into the boxing style.
Right.
But Troy's one of those rare cases that not did it translate well. I mean, he became a world champion, and he fought at the highest level as a boxer. And so to be Troy, I don't know, you'd have to answer this question: how many guys won a world kickboxing championship and a world boxing championship? I think you may be the only one, or one of the very few.
I think I was the first one to do it, and I'm not sure if anybody's done it since then.
I don't think they have. I don't think they have. It's like an MMA fighter. These UFC fighters you see on TV now, none of them have crossed over and become a world boxing champion. That's kind of what it equates to as what Troy accomplished. And you walk in, nobody thinks you can do it, and he's a kickboxer, blah blah blah. Well, he was a world champion kickboxer, and he fooled everybody and became the a world boxing champion. And I was fortunate to watch him, man. It was what a joy to see a guy come from Mansfield, Texas, and become a world champion and now Hall of Famer.
I know.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And this is my favorite question I'm asking next. Let's talk about Mr. Jesse James Leha.
Okay.
So Troy and I spoke about this before the interview. Troy, who did Lester, manage, things like that? He's like, do you remember that fight that I showed you with Jesse James Leha? I was like, yes, I do. He's like, he managed him. So,
right. It's an interesting story, but I can tell you, Troy beat up a lot of guys, and he and James had a rough fight for a long time. Troy eventually got cut, and the fight was stopped. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you, I was managing Jesse James Leha, who was a two-time world champion, and I can tell you when the fight got stopped, we were happy about it because we knew at any time Troy could potentially turn the corner and come back on James Leha and end up winning the fight. So we got probably lucky in a way that Troy got cut. I mean, I think James was probably winning the fight at the time, and it was just a rough fight for both guys. But I'll tell you a funny story about that. When I got a call from the head of boxing for NBC TV when the fight was about to be made, and the guy, his name was Kevin Monahan. Troy, you probably remember Kevin.
I do.
He was over boxing with
NBC
for NBC, and he called me and said, Lester, why are you going to put Jesse James Leha in there with Troy Dorsey? Because that is stupid. He annihilated Jorge Paez. What do you think he's going to do to Leha? And I said, I don't know, but I know that Leha's trying to become the world champion himself. You got to fight guys like that, or you got to roll the dice. And he said, yeah, but it's stupid. I said, what do you mean? You don't want a good fight on your network? He goes, no, I like Leha and I like Dorsey too, but I don't know why you're accepting the fight. I said, well, hey, we'll just, we'll take our chances and see how it works out. But yeah, it was I knew it was going to be a rough fight, and it was a fun event, and promotion. We had a huge crowd in San Antonio. It was live on NBC TV, and the guy from NBC was and all the people on the network were thrilled with it because it turned out to be the kind of fight that an action fight that they thought it was going to be. I mean, it was fast paced, and they were going at it, and Troy was right on James's chest the whole fight, and I tell James all the time, I said, look, I know you won that fight, but I was so happy when they stopped it because I knew Troy could turn that corner anytime, but it was also a matter of who was going to get cut first because Troy cut easy and James Leha cut easy, and so Troy's the one that got cut first. So it was. Yeah. But sometimes that happens in boxing. You don't get to finish out the fight, and the guy gets a win. But we feel very fortunate for James at the time to have won the fight. But on the other side of it, I felt bad for Troy. He's such a great fighter and was such a great champion. And he beat better fighters than James Leha, I can tell you that. At the time, when he beat Jorge Páez to win the world championship, it was an epic night.
So about that fight, let me just say something about that fight. I only had 5 cuts. I don't know why they stopped it. I had 2.
You only had 5?
I only had 5. Come on, I was so bad. No, really, I was. I can make him excuses. What happened? Of course, Jesse James Leha, he had probably a difficult time making the weight. I had a difficult time making the weight, and so I ran out of gas in the 5th round. Plus, I was cut up, blooded up. He busted me up pretty bad, and the reason I believe that happened. This was the first time my trainer talked to me about being at the weigh-ins. I said some things to Jesse James Leha. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Okay. I wouldn't say what I said to him I wouldn't say that on this podcast or on TV. So,
you were a tough guy, you knew the part.
But my trainer talked me into doing that, and I was because he was thinking that I could do better if I was. I guess you say
like pumped yourself up.
Yeah, pump myself up, or if I was aroused, if I was angry, because he'd seen me fight before when I was angry, so he was trying to do that, and it ended up really kind of backfired on me because I got the I guess real nice to say it, I got the crap beat out of me for sure. So
well, let me just say this: you got your own licks in on that. It was a great fight, and hey, it looks, it's James and you are good friends now. We're good friends, and we made friends for life, and that was part of it. So it all turned out good. He became world champion. You were world champion. So hey, it's that's something they can never take away from you. When you wake up the next day, you realize, hey, I'm the world champion, and it's something that they can never take away from you. I mean, you can't say Troy Dorsey in the boxing business without saying world champion Troy Dorsey, and that's the ultimate respect. I mean, and not only did he play in the Super Bowl, but he won the Super Bowl. There's a lot of guys who fight for world championships, they never get there, and the percentage of fighters who even fight for the world championship is rare, maybe 2 or 3% of boxers and professional boxers in the world. You got thousands and thousands of them in it, and to be the best in your weight division is just a tremendous accomplishment. And so, that's the ultimate respect in boxing is when you talk to someone and they know you're the world champion. They sitting there thinking, oh, this guy was something special, and Troy was very special, and he's one. When we started this Texas Boxing Hall of Fame, that's one of the reasons we started, because he's right. There's some of these guys are on the cusp of being in the International Boxing Hall of Fame, but they can't quite get there. It's in New York. Most of the guys who get in the Hall of Fame, they're from the East Coast or West Coast, and the Texas guys are getting left out. They're not getting honored. We have a lot of not a lot, but we have a few world champions from the state of Texas, and only like five of them are in the Boxing Hall of Fame, and so we need a place to honor the best athletes and the best boxers in the state of Texas over the last 100 years. And when I put it together, one of the perfect reasons that we started it was Troy Dorsey and James Leha. Those guys are not, didn't quite have the resume to be in the International Boxing Hall of Fame, but on that cusp, and now we got a stage to honor them, and we're growing that organization now, and so I'm looking forward to the induction ceremony. We are able to honor Troy officially.
Thank you.
I love it, Lester. Let me also ask you, what were some other fighters that you were able to manage besides Jesse James?
Well, and from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I represented Sergio Reyes, who was an Olympian and fought for the world title, was a United States champion, and I was a consultant for the managers of Paulie Ayala. I wasn't his manager, but I consulted with him frequently on his career. And Danny Trevino, one of our Texas Boxing Hall of Fame fighters, I represented him. And along the way, I represented Evander Holyfield for a year and a half towards the end of his career. But my career really is more about the management and marketing of world championship events. And I think you need to ask me the question about how we marketed Troy Dorsey and James Leha. That's a funny that's kind of a funny thing, and Troy's not even aware of it.
Well, tell us. I'm interested now.
Yeah.
Okay, here's what it was. Okay, I knew I was going to buy a bunch of TV commercials because we had some great video on both fighters, and we had some video of Troy just really roughing up a couple of guys. Jorge Paez for one, when he won the world title, and visually it was so powerful. Radio didn't do it justice. Print advertising didn't do it justice, and there was no internet back then, right, Troy? So when you guys fly, no internet and no cell phones, either, by the way. So anyway, so I had to come back with an advertising campaign that I thought would excite the people of San Antonio, and what I did, I put Jesse James Leha in a boxing ring, and we turned the lights out and had smoke and these low lights in the ring, and we had a television setting on a stool, on a boxing stool. It was a pretty big television at the time. It wasn't a flat screen because they didn't have flat screens back then either, right? No. So it was kind of a big TV, a big TV. We sat it on a boxing stool that the fighter sat on, and we were showing video of Troy just blasting guys over and over on video, and Jesse James Leha was shadow boxing in the middle of the ring, and to the Jimi Hendrix song, "Let Me Stand Next to Your Fire." And so we didn't say anything at all. All we did was show Troy beating the crap out of somebody on TV, and James Leha getting worked up in the middle of the ring, and he comes in and he hits the screen with his fist and blows up the TV, and the TV catches on fire, and it's just Jimi Hendrix, "Let Me Stand Next to Your Fire." And oh man, we put that commercial out there, the ticket sales started going through the roof.
I love that. Do you have that video? I mean, I have to see that. Do you have that video anywhere? Okay.
Actually, I do have that video. It's somewhere out in a tub that I have stored.
Okay.
I've produced hundreds, if not thousands, of commercials over the years for radio, TV, and different stuff like that. But that was my favorite one. And actually, NBC wanted to run the commercial. They wanted to show it, but because it was Jimi Hendrix, I didn't have the rights to the audio, to the music, and so they couldn't use it because I didn't know at the time that I had to have the rights. I just thought, hey, this is perfect song for this, and oh man, it was just listen to the song Jimi Hendrix, "Let Me Stand Next to Your Fire," and the fire was Troy, and he was I guess you could say a fireball of perpetual motion. How about that?
So Troy, what do you think of that? Learning that now, all these years later,
Thank you. Yeah.
he punched you in a TV screen, and then flames started bursting out. I will say
the TV literally exploded. Of course, with the magic of TV, you can make it look like anything. It looks like an explosion. He hit it, boom, and it had glass shattering, and they worked in, and it was epic. It was the best commercial I ever produced in my life. In fact, I won an Addy Award for advertising.
For the American Advertising Award. Yeah, the American Advertising Federation.
Yeah.
I just won an award for them 2 weeks ago, actually. That's crazy.
Oh, wonderful. So I won the in San Antonio Addy Awards. We put that in there for a sports commercial, and actually we beat out the Spurs, and and they were one of the ones they submitted. They had 3 that they submitted, and mine won out on all of them. I used to do a lot of advertising stuff for the Spurs too, and but some of the work I got with them was because of that one commercial. And so they started hiring me to come in and help them with their advertising campaigns. And I probably worked about 8 years in a row. They changed owners, and all of a sudden I was out of a job with the Spurs.
Yeah. Well, a little behind the scenes is, we do video here at our studio. That's what we specialize in. And I just absolutely love creating commercials, creating videos. I didn't do that before where I'm at now. And I just, like what you're saying, Lester, the story you can tell in a video, something you cannot tell in print ads or radio. And that, I will say, when you created that commercial, that was super creative. So it doesn't surprise me you won an award for it.
And don't tell me where the idea came from. I was just driving down the street. And
that's where they come from.
I heard, and you know what it was? I heard on the radio that song, Jimi Hendrix, Let Me Stand Next to Your Fire. So I was trying to think of how could I take that song, and I stole it, by the way, and I didn't even know it. But that's why NBC didn't show it. They wanted to show it bad. It's, we can't do it, and it's not the same without the Jimi Hendrix song.
Right.
But Troy, I had to get that for you.
Okay.
But anyway,
Please
yeah,
do.
it was something.
That is crazy. I do have one question left, Lester, for you. How important is a boxing promoter's role in the career of their fighter?
Well, Troy can answer that too, but I'll tell you, you have to have the right representation on the management side and also on the promotion side, because if you don't get involved with a major promoter in this business, it's really, really tough to get opportunities. And when you do, a lot of times if you're not represented well, you'll get thrown in against really tough fighters early in your career. And Troy got paid really good money to in that fight that he lost to James Leha. But of course, he won so many great fights. But it's, and a lot of it's about representation. The fighter does his job. But if the manager or the promoter doesn't do their job, and they don't put the fighter in the right position, sometimes styles don't mesh, sometimes you might beat somebody that and Troy might be able to beat a lot of guys that beat James Leha potentially, but sometimes the styles don't mesh, and whereas the style with Jorge Paez was perfect for Troy, and when he won the world championship. So, but that, your manager and your representation have to help you make those decisions. And ultimately, the fighter owns his own franchise. He owns himself, and he hires people to be around him. He doesn't want to have a manager or a promoter. He has a right. In most cases, he has the right to, sign with them or not sign with them. He doesn't have to be told to do anything. And in that sense, Troy was smart in putting a lot of good people around him, and good promoters, good management, and good trainers. So it's not all about just fighting in the ring. It's about getting good people around you that know the business and put you in a position to succeed.
Troy, anything you want to add to that?
I don't want to correct you on this, Lester, but I have to correct you on this. The correction is, you said I beat Jorge Paez. I lost that fight.
Oh!
You remember that, right?
I thought you beat Jorge Paez for the title.
So many people think I did. it's good to hear it again.
Was that
They
the
think I
fight,
did.
the controversial fight?
The real controversial
We've
fight,
talked
yeah.
about that many
Yeah,
times.
well, I thought you. Okay. A lot of people thought you won the fight. I know
Yeah.
for sure.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Now,
Does that feel good?
What'd you
Who
say?
was it that you actually beat?
Well, I fought Jorge Paz February 4th, 1990, to a controversial split decision loss. And then I fought him July
Right.
8th in a draw. So again, I lost. Didn't get win the world title. And then I fought the next year, June 3rd, I fought Alfred Ronhill from San Antonio and knocked him out in the first round. And Caesar's
Okay, that's the
Palace.
fight you won the world title.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so I
Hey,
fought three
world
world
titles,
world title fights to win one. But that's the way you got to do it sometimes.
Okay. I'll tell you, a lot of guys will take that. Okay. That I won the world title. Okay, that's the clincher right there.
Yes, sir.
Right.
You know, hey, the Cowboys may win the Super Bowl this year, but they may lose 4 or 5 games on the way.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So it doesn't matter what you lost on the way. If you got there and you won it, you won the big one.
Yes,
and
sir.
yeah, it's Troy Dorsey, world champion the rest of his life. I
Yes,
wouldn't.
sir.
Hey, put it this way: if a bar fight broke out now, I'd still want Troy on my side.
I think all of us would want Troy on our side.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Lester.
he's a nice guy. He's a nice guy, but let me tell you, if you need a bodyguard, he's the
Right?
guy.
Thank you.
But
Awesome.
I think he's probably through fighting by now.
About finished with fighting?
Somebody threatened somebody in his family or something like that. I'd hate to be the guy that was doing that.
Right.
'Cause, yeah.
Mess with the wrong family.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
All right.
But
Well,
knowing Troy, he'd probably try to talk him out of it. You know, he said, "No,
He'd
we don't
first
need to."
try.
But, yeah. The Lord doesn't want us doing this kind of stuff.
No, sir. No,
I
sir.
know how Troy is. He looks rough, and we know he's rough, but he's the goodness in his heart wouldn't let him go there. Probably he'd try to find an alternative.
Only. Of course, I would put it off if I could in any way, but mess with my wife or my kids and my grandkids. Of course, that's gonna
Oh,
be.
I know.
That's gonna be
Yes,
something. That's gonna be something
absolutely, man.
different. So I don't want to talk like a
That's
tough
it,
guy, but yeah,
that's
that would make a difference for sure.
And that's
Y'all
probably
heard it
one reason
here.
nobody doesn't mess with you. That's probably one reason you're a big deterrent for anybody that knows you. They know, oh, I'm not going there. I'm not going to give his wife or anybody in trouble because
Yeah.
they know it might be a rough road that go
Yes, sir.
down.
It would.
Yes, sir.
It would. Well, Lester, thank you so much again for joining us on the show here today. It has been so much fun getting to interview you and hearing some of the past memories and things that I never knew and Troy never knew before. And I will say we're going to have a part 2 at some point, Lester, getting you back on the show because this was just lots of fun.
Yes.
Yeah, I got a lot of years to cover, but some of my favorite were following Troy, and I'm
Yeah.
so thankful for our friendship still. I mean, here we are all these years later, like 40 years later, Troy. I don't even know, 35
sir.
years, 40 years.
Yeah. It's been many years for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you for being a part of my. Thank you for being a part of my life. I appreciate it. Oh wow! Wow! So many memories here. I'm on to a new place now. This is really unbelievable. So when we opened up, we had our martial arts classes over here, and we had our kickboxing classes over here. But this is a great memory. So many memories made here, so many black belts, about 400 black belts during 1999 to 2022. I'm just now getting it, believe it or not. I've been in business for 41 years and with 2 karate schools, and I'm just now getting where I'm being able to get home a little earlier.
I hope you guys still have a hold of your gloves, because that was a fun interview that we got to watch, and it was especially fun getting to interview Lester with Troy. Troy, again, tell me, what was your fight like with Jesse James Leha?
The fight, I had to tell you about a little bit of the pre-fight a little bit. I had trouble making weight, and of course, he had the same problem. Probably, maybe. I think I put it off a little too long. And anyways, I was cut in 5 rounds. I had 5 cuts, 2 cuts here, with a cut like this, 2 cuts above my eye, 1 cut below my eye, 1 cut here, and 1 cut here. So it was very. It was no fun. It was no fun. It was one of my, if not the toughest fight. And they stopped the fight in the 5th round, as I said a little earlier. But Jesse James and I, my coach was trying to get me to really get mean and get mad, get upset, because he had seen me fight a guy that had beat my brother, and he'd seen how I got amped up to fight that guy. But I couldn't really get amped up to fight Jesse James, because he never did nothing to me.
Right.
And he was, but I was saying some things to him, and then he said some stuff back to me, and it really got him really motivated. And me, it was fake. It was fake that I was saying I was trying to do that because my coach wanted me to do that, but it didn't turn out in my luck at all. So I got busted up. Jesse James had launched his career, helped to launch his career, and he went on to do great things.
Yeah, and I think my favorite part from that interview is getting to learn about Troy being the muse for their commercial that they made, where you were on the TV and Jesse James Leha punched the TV and it bursted into flames, and we're still going to find that content to play for you guys. But how does it feel finding that out years later? Yeah,
just you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And but I'm glad that they're able to do that, and I'm glad that I found that out about what they did, and it was humbling.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a very fun interview. We'll definitely be bringing Lester back on the show at some point. But we've got even more content planned for you guys. Next week, you're going to be seeing the long-awaited Mr. Ty Garrett on the show to talk with me and Troy about starting a business with Troy, what it has been like winning so many titles, just having a very successful fighting career. Great guy to talk to, so really looking forward to showing that to you all. But another great episode, Troy, episode 3, so we're on a roll here now. And I just want to say once again, thank you so much, you guys, for joining in and watching the show today.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, each and every one of you that could watch it. If you can't watch it, of course I can't say that to you right now. If you can't watch it, then watch it the next time. So thank you for watching. Anybody that can do that, please watch it and share it. And I appreciate your support. And want to just get my story out there and let people know some of the behind the closed doors of what goes on when you're fighting. And had 68 fights, so it was definitely a blessing. And of course, it was very, very tough, and it was very bloody sometimes, and there's a lot of pain, but there's a lot of love there, and lots of excitement, and lots of great fun times that I had in my whole life. So that I have had ever in my whole life. That didn't really make much sense either. But anyways, yeah, it's something else.
Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.